Thank you. As you mentioned already, I'm going to give you a very high-level overview of the policy and of the single funding opportunity opened is now that's relevant for this sector. Next, please, Pablo. I wanted to start. I understand that this is very, very high level, but basically we are currently working very much on defining the next multi-annual financial framework, which is basically the entire budget and priorities for the period 2028 and 2034. And in all the documents, in all the work, there are what I consider three major priorities. Competitiveness. We know this is fundamental for the economy of the European Union, and is both competitiveness, economic security, strengthening and shortening strategic value chains. The second priority remains sustainability, because this is remain a long-term structural priority to reach climate neutrality by 2050. But the third element that is acquiring more and more relevance, it is indeed resilience, which is now approached in a different way and is framed more in a systemic way, and covers all the sectors, which is economic and industrial resilience, is climate infrastructure resilience, and it is crisis preparedness and also shock absorption. And the idea is that resilience should be included by design in all the policies. Before, it was mainly a reaction to it. And I will come back on this. And in all this framework, the digitalization, data, automation, so all the technologies remain key enablers to support the major priorities. Next, please, Pablo. The difference, I was mentioning a different approach to resilience, and the strategic foresight report published in 2025. This report introduces the concept of resilience 2.0, and it introduces this concept of an approach that wants to bring to help to ensure that the EU can thrive even in this absolutely unstable geopolitical situation and reality. And this approach brings resilience consider resilience as transformative, proactive, forward-looking. But especially, it recognizes that there is a need to look proactively not only to all the emergencies or what the risks that are happening, but also what are the future opportunities. And this is why resilience should become a decisive advantage in this instability that we are living today. This concept of resilience is based also on the European Preparedness Union strategy, also published in 2025. And this strategy is the one that indeed moves from resilience as reactions to crisis to actually anticipating, preventing, withstanding threats, responding to the threats. So from reaction to anticipating and preparing for threats. And this concept of a whole of a system approach that covers a lot of sectors, including transport, energy, defense, logistics. And we can extrapolate from this strategy that freight transport is now treated as a critical infrastructure within the EU crisis preparedness, and is not just an economic sector like others. Next, please. And resilient mobility was already a key objective in the EU Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy. That is basically the vision for the future of transport and mobility that was published in 2020. And there are three areas that were started within the strategy and also evolved. First of all, the Trans-European Transport Network Regulation. So we talk about resilience of infrastructure. And the revision of the Trans-European Transport Network Regulation requires that every action in this network consider climate resilience that assess vulnerability to climate impact, integrate adaptation measures in planning and upgrades. And the objective is to ensure continuity of operations under extreme events. A second element that I wanted to mention here, and it's a bit more recent, at least for us, is actually military mobility. So really preparing for crisis. And military mobility relates very much also to logistics. First of all, because there are requirements for infrastructure to be adapted also for civil and military logistics, so dual use of infrastructure and also of technologies that comes in a bit another area, but also exploring the vulnerabilities in the strategic corridors, and also proposals to share and pool transport and logistics capabilities among member states and between civil and military. We will see how this will, let's say, be considered put in practice, but this is also something that is in evolution. And third, we have to talk about digital resilience, of course, logistics systems. And the electronic freight transport information regulation, not really sure that was started in the support of resilience, but it definitely will support resilience by providing real-time data data in real time, and then will help to better respond to crisis. The idea is also to reduce administrative bottlenecks and, of course, to support secure and interoperable data sharing. Next, please. We talk about opportunities, funding opportunities to explore better resilience in the sector, in the freight transport sectors. And there is a topic that is going to open soon under the Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Framework Program. And this is a topic on increasing competitiveness and resilience of multimodal freight transport and logistics. And this is an innovation action that will close, the call will close on the 8th of October. As you can see, there is a budget of 20 million euros. So hopefully we hope to be able to fund around 3 projects. What we want in this topic, first of all, we want, let's say, explore tools and solutions that will make multimodality more attractive, more competitive, and resilient. And we want to see demonstration of digital tools and data sharing to enable multimodal operations, increase real-time visibility, predictive analytics, and disruption management of freight flows, always in a multimodal approach. And as part of our priorities, also a better integration of rail, inland waterways, short sea shipping, and of course with road. There are a number of activities explained in the topic description, but what I would like to do is, first of all, point out in terms of scope that we would like to see a strong role of industry infrastructure managers, operators as co-implementers. So a strong role also of, let's say, the users together with shippers and carriers and so on. Of course, we want to see the development of interoperable tools and solutions, and these tools and solutions will have to be integrated in existing platforms, especially platforms of shippers, carriers, freight forwarders, so the users. And the idea is to connect with multimodal information and to help operators also to react rapidly to disruptions. We want to see large-scale demonstrations, 2 large-scale demonstrations along European freight transport corridors. Large scales, of course, will leave to the applicants to decide what is large scales, considering the budget available. And what we would like to see is also use cases for multimodal transport for intra-European flows between 500 and 1,000 kilometers. I On this topic, what I would like to say is also that I provided some general idea of what we want, but please, if you're interested and you decide to apply, read very carefully the text and follow carefully the text, because there is more than these pointers to the topic. So this is a very high-level presentation. There would be, of course, much more activities in general that the Commission is implementing in terms of resilience, but I think these are the most relevant for the sector. So thank you on this, and I pass back the floor to actually Pablo, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you, Paola. Thank you. So if there is any question to Paola, now is the time. If you have any question, I mean, you can write in the chat or you can open your microphone. Fernando? You're mute.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Paola, for the presentation. Lately, I have been in a few discussions around the topic code and the focus on use cases between 500 and 1,000 kilometers. That, from my point of view, when we were looking into the topic, drafting it was like a focus point, but not restricting going beyond those 1,000 kilometers. But I don't know if this is something that you can clarify or not, because this I have sensed in a few discussions is like the question for some of the consortiums, that if they would only need to focus on that range, or they could look in broader ranges, because from a resilient point of view, it makes sense. I believe when we look into this point, we wanted to understand if in those 500, 1,000 kilometers, we could find multimodal solutions. That is always a challenge, and that was the focus. But I don't know if the text was too restrictive from a overall topic. So I don't know if you could give us some insights or answer.
Well, I think that was the challenge. I remember that the initial discussion, this was actually initial discussions with a colleague also from CINEA. And the idea was indeed, this is the challenge. And the topic was born indeed more on multimodality, and also pushing multimodality and the use of rail, inland waterways, especially for this kind of range. Now, is this range absolutely mandatory in the sense that a little bit more 1,000 or not? The evaluator will have to see the proposals, and I'm sorry to say my answer is always, it depends on the proposal. I would imagine that there should be a focus on some of these cases, not only on these cases. And I always suggest that proposals should explain very clearly why there is why something is proposed in the proposal, and if the limit, for instance, let's say someone considers a wider range, cases for a wider range, why? What is the reasoning? What is the rationale behind this? I have not considered what is going to be the briefing to the experts, but yeah, there was a precise idea on why focusing on this range. So because it's challenging, and my understanding is because it's not happening. So, but I'm sorry to say is the idea is to prepare some use cases, but the entire topic is not focused only on these use cases. Huh? So sorry, it's not only these use cases.
Yeah. Exactly as I read, but hopefully it also helps to others. So, and I actually think the briefing to the evaluators will be key for this.
I'll make myself a note on this. Okay.
Thank you,